The ballroom was drenched in golden light, chandeliers dripping elegance from the high ceiling, and every table was dressed with roses worth more than an average person's monthly salary. It was supposed to be the most perfect day of billionaire CEO Alexander Harrington's life, the wedding he had kept private, away from media flashes, reserved only for the elite few he trusted. He stood tall, polished in his tailored black tuxedo, his hand resting nervously on his cufflinks as his bride-to-be prepared to walk down the aisle. But amidst the delicate sound of violins and the murmur of aristocratic guests, one sound overpowered everything else. The cries. Two piercing cries, coming from the front row where his 3-year-old twins sat, restless, anxious, and inconsolable. The boy, Ethan, tugged at his little bow tie, his cheeks wet with tears. His sister, Ella, clutched a stuffed bunny with one hand, her face red as she kicked her tiny shoes against the wooden pew. Their sobs echoed louder than the orchestra, louder than the whispers of the crowd. It was as though their hearts were refusing to celebrate the moment everyone else had come for. Alexander's chest tightened. He had built empires, closed deals worth billions, faced ruthless competition with a steel heart. But in that moment, he felt helpless, a father unable to soothe his children on the most important day of his life. His guests shifted uncomfortably. Some smiled politely, pretending it was cute. Others whispered with annoyance, their eyes darting toward the children as if their cries were ruining the elegance of the event. And in the midst of this chaos, the one person who noticed his trembling hands and the pain hiding behind his stoic face was not a guest, not a friend, not even family. It was the waitress. Her name was Maya. She was young, 26, her dark skin glowing under the chandelier lights as she carried a silver tray of champagne flutes. She wasn't supposed to stand out that evening, just another worker blending into the background of extravagance. But her eyes, warm and perceptive, couldn't ignore the scene before her, a father drowning in silence though the whole room buzzed around him. She glanced at the twins again, saw the fear in their eyes, and something inside her moved. Maya had grown up raising her younger siblings, sometimes skipping school to rock them to sleep when her single mother worked double shifts. She knew the sound of children's cries not as a nuisance but as a language, a plea for comfort. And now, watching the billionaire's children sobbing uncontrollably, she couldn't stop herself from stepping forward, even though every rule in her job screamed at her to stay invisible. Balancing her tray on the nearest table, Maya walked quietly to the front row. The guests stiffened, whispering, as the black waitress dared to cross into a world she wasn't supposed to enter. Alexander turned, his brows knitting together. "Please," he whispered hoarsely, "don't," but before he could finish, Maya knelt down in front of the twins. "Hey, hey," she said softly, her voice carrying the gentleness of lullabies. She didn't shush them. She didn't scold them. She simply looked at them as if their cries mattered, as if they were the most important people in the world. She reached into her apron pocket and pulled out 2 tiny folded napkins, skillfully twisting them into quick origami birds. Ella sniffled, curiosity peeking through her tears. Ethan hiccuped, watching the bird flap between Maya's fingers. "Do you see this?" Maya whispered, her voice so low it felt like a secret. "These are magic birds. They only stop crying if you hold them tight and promise them you'll be brave." "Do you think you can do that?" The twins froze, tears dripping down their cheeks. Slowly, Ella stretched out her tiny hand and accepted the bird. Ethan followed, his sobs turning into quiet sniffles. For the first time that evening, silence fell, not the heavy silence of embarrassment, but the gentle silence of peace. Alexander stared, his throat tightening with something he hadn't felt in years. Gratitude. Vulnerability. Awe. He had hired the best nannies money could buy, flown in child therapists when the twins had trouble adjusting after their mother's passing, but not one had managed what this waitress had done in less than 2 minutes. She had listened. She had cared. And she had given his children comfort when he himself had failed. But the challenge was far from over. The bride, elegant in her white lace gown, had been watching the entire exchange from the back of the aisle. Her lips pressed thin, her eyes flashing with irritation. To her, this was supposed to be her moment. The picture-perfect fairy tale she had designed with diamonds and gold. And now, all anyone could talk about was the waitress who dared to steal the spotlight by calming children who weren't even hers.
As the ceremony proceeded, tension filled the air.
The bride forced her smile, but her cold glances toward Maya did not go unnoticed. The guests whispered, some in admiration for Maya's courage, others in judgment, questioning why Alexander allowed a waitress to interfere. Maya herself slipped back into the background, her heart racing, aware she may have just risked her job. She had acted on instinct, not calculation. And though the twins were now calm, her future remained uncertain. Later, at the reception, when music filled the ballroom and laughter flowed over glasses of champagne, Alexander found himself searching the room not for investors or powerful allies, but for Maya. He spotted her near the corner, quietly pouring drinks, avoiding eye contact as if trying to erase her presence from the evening. But his children had other plans. Ethan and Ella, now smiling, tugged at his sleeve and pointed. "Daddy, the magic lady," Ella whispered. "We want her." The request hit him like a wave. For years, his children had been surrounded by wealth but starved of warmth. And in one evening, this stranger had given them more love than he could measure. He crossed the room, his towering frame casting shadows, and for the first time that night, Maya looked up at him. She expected reprimand, maybe even dismissal. Instead, he said quietly, "You saved my children tonight. I don't know how to thank you." Maya shook her head. They didn't need saving. They just needed someone to hear them. That simple sentence struck him deeper than any business lesson he had ever learned. He had built towers of glass and steel, but he had forgotten that children needed more than riches. They needed connection. Challenges lay ahead, navigating a marriage already strained by emotional distance, facing criticism from high society for acknowledging someone beneath him, and learning to be a father who gave love, not just security. But with Maya's unexpected presence, his heart began to shift. And for the twins, the moment marked a turning point. They no longer felt invisible. They knew someone could see them, even when the world was too busy celebrating wealth and power. In the weeks that followed, the story of the crying twins and the waitress spread quietly, first among the guests, then among those who whispered about the billionaire's unusual gratitude. And though many judged, others admired. Because sometimes, kindness speaks louder than money. By the end of it all, Alexander realized his wedding had not been about the grandeur of chandeliers or the sparkle of diamonds. It had been about a lesson taught not by the bride, not by the orchestra, but by the black waitress who dared to do the unthinkable. She had reminded him of humanity. She had reminded him to be kind always. Sparkle's call to action for YouTube, narrator's voice. If this story touched your heart, tell me what you would have done if you were in Maya's place. Comment your thoughts below, I love reading what you think. And if you believe kindness can truly change the world, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Be kind always. Together, let's spread stories that remind us of what really matters.